hoisted on their own petard. That's what I'm calling this. Hoisted on their own petard. Two main things about this, and I'm talking about the race with Andrew Gillum. Gillum runs against DeSantis. On Tuesday night, I watch with bated breath to figure out the outcome of that particular election, and we find Gillum conceding, but conceded too soon because Deborah Wasserman-Schultz, her woman on the field, Brenda Snipes, comes out and says, we're not finished counting, and this is a Democratic district, and we have found thousands and thousands and thousands more votes. So many more votes. It looks like it is going to be in between the margins where they need to force a recount. It's not done. Now, when Tim Canova ran in that race with Deborah Wasserman-Schultz, Democrat v. Democrat, and Brenda Snipes had destroyed the ballots, nobody cared. Nobody gave a shit that the ballots were being destroyed. Not one person cared. So maybe I'm wrong on this. And the judge said that she broke the law. Did anything take place? Nope. Was she still manning the fort when this election took place? Yep. And now that Rick Scott's ass is on the line and that the Republican governorship is on the line, now Rick Scott wants an investigation. Now Rick Scott wants to take her to court, when before Rick Scott didn't give a shit. Isn't justice fucking sweet? God, I hope that both Nelson and Gillum wins that race. And I want Gillum to win that race and Nelson to win that race, because when they had the opportunity to do something about it, and they didn't want to look, they didn't want to check, we didn't care. Under George W. Bush versus Al Gore, again, same thing, shenanigans in Florida. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. And now, all of a sudden, Rick Scott is concerned. Rick Scott is concerned because his ass is on the line. Nobody that's running in a race should be able to preside over any factor of that race. Full stop. Full stop. Why do I have to say that? That's banana republic shit. President, or let's say the governor, is running in a race in order to get into Congress, but the governor has certain powers over the electoral process in which he can call investigations into his own race. Come on. Why do I have to say this? Why do I have to say this? Why would a random guy walking around in fucking Barcelona looking back at what's taking place in the States have that is some banana republic shit? I'm sorry. I'm looking like people think I'm a maniac. I'm just saying that is some banana republic shit to take place. But now Rick Scott cares. Now he's concerned. Now he wants to look into what's taking place in Florida with Brenda Snipes. Now everybody is concerned. Marco Rubio tweets out one of Tim Canova's tweets showing the ballots being destroyed back in 2016. And now Marco Rubio is concerned. Now, all of these people are concerned. When you had the opportunity to make sure you were having a fair electoral process, nobody cared. Republicans only care when it affects them. And here's the sweet part about this. Oh, here's the sweet part about this. And it's stuff that I say all the time. In similar situations that the Democratic parties have been in, the Republican Party would have acted entirely different. Democrats are often scared of attacking the representative process, meaning they don't want to call an election fraudulent. They don't want to say that a person was cheated. They don't want to say that Republicans shove people off the rolls, because they want to maintain this idea of American democracy. This is the greatest democracy on earth, and we will say nothing against it. Even when we're being cheated, it's like Stalin's show trials. That's what it's like. Everybody knows that the trial is a show trial, but the person plays their part, and when the person is guilty, the person's over. He plays his part. Same thing. Hillary Clinton gets cheated, magnificently cheated, entirely cheated. Everybody knows she was cheated. You can look at the number of people that were scrubbed off the voter rolls. She was cheated. Now, mind you, she was running against a reality show host. She should have landslided the reality show host. But in case where it's around the margins, yeah, we're going to put in voter ID laws to scrub some people off the rolls, because we know that statistically, there's a certain number of people that are not either don't currently have the IDs and the identification required. And by putting that hurdle in, we know before we put that hurdle in that there's going to be a statistical group that doesn't get the ID. It doesn't matter what they can do. It matters what they actually do. I live in reality, not in fantasy land. Not in fantasy land. They put those things in to create hurdles because they know people that are more inclined to vote Republican will get those things. That's why they do it. When they make those lines long, they know that people who are more likely to vote Democrat will have a harder time staying in those long lines for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours in some cases, because they have to go back to work. Hell, 2 hours is a difficult thing. And if it's the greatest democracy on earth, nobody should have to stand in a line for 2 hours. Why do I have to say this? This is one of those sayings that seems the most rational thing in the world to say. Everybody, to some degree, should know, but no. When Hillary Clinton was running against Bernie Sanders, what did they say? Oh, the polling locations doesn't have anything to do with Clinton. We're just closing polling locations for shits and giggles. Even though, more likely or not, they were going to have a massive turnout, they didn't care. They closed those polling locations because they wanted to make it difficult for certain demographics to vote. And they knew statistically that people who were going to vote for Hillary Clinton either pre-voted or was going to stay in those lines. It's voter shenanigans. Why do we have to say this? I don't care who wins the election. Understand what I'm saying? Yes, I want Gillum to win. But in the overarching process, if the people in a particular area choose Republican and he wins fair and square, then he wins fair and square. If a person chooses a Democrat and he wins, or an independent, fair enough. I don't care. That's a democratic process. People go out, they make their vote based on the arguments that take place. And mind you, there's massive amounts of money and everything else, but I'm just saying, schoolboy philosophical way, but that's not what's happening. And now that the shoe is on the other foot, I want DeSantis to lose. I want Rick Scott to lose. I want them to fail. Understand what I'm saying? The Republican Party has cheated all throughout the United States. The Republican Party skimmed off votes in order to get George W. Bush elected. And a weak, invertebrate Democrat, Al Gore, allowed them to do it. A weak group of invertebrates, that is the Democratic Party, allowed them to do it. They didn't even have the spine to back up Jill Stein when Jill Stein was challenging the vote counts in Wisconsin. How weak. How weak. The moment that the Republican Party, the election was at stake, what did they do? They attacked the electoral process itself. They had no fucks about it. They attacked the electoral process because they are paid by their investors to win at all costs and use whatever they have to push the envelope in order to win. These weak, spineless, jellyfish Democrats. Andrew Gillum, before all votes were counted, conceded. How weak? How weak? Is this what he's going to do when he gets in office? I'm raging out. And the wild part about this is that my wife says you scream. I told her I'll modulate the sound of my voice when I'm trying to get a point across. In Spain and Portugal, people are far more calm. So me kind of being strong on a particular point, they're looking at me like, oh my God, he's lost his mind. And we don't know what the fuck he's saying. That makes it even worse. All I'm saying is, if Gillum pushes this to a recount, this will be sweet justice. And God knows I'm okay with it. Obvious problem with the Democrats is they're dinosaurs that have been overstay their welcome. Look, it's not purely the dinosaur thing. When there's a group of the left that's comfortable. Let's call them that. The comfortable left. And in the comfortable left, they don't have the pressure and the angst associated with difficulty and pain to push them to take certain behaviors, meaning pushing it to the limit. No, what they do is they don't want to attack the electoral process that allowed them to get in office in the first place, or they don't want to attack this idea of the democratic process itself. My point is, when the Republicans get the opportunity, they attack the process if that's what they need to do. What did Donald Trump say? Oh, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. Now, Hillary Clinton, it was rigged, didn't say squat, nor was she fully back the Green Party in challenging the vote. And in this case, Gillum concedes before he even, before every vote counts. If you look at his website now, he'll say every vote needs to be counted. I agree with him. Every vote needs to be counted. Every vote needs to be counted. So, oh, by the way, Gillum's difficulty in Florida is not entirely one of race. So don't misunderstand me. The part of the Gillum apparently was dogged by FBI investigation complaints. What I mean is, apparently there's a picture with Gillum with a guy who ended up being what I would consider probably a Republican plant, who's come out and showed out emails. Now the emails are trying to show some level of corruption and attach this to Gillum. And DeSantis has been hitting Gillum on this constantly, vigilantly. Now, yes, there are some racist people in Florida, fair enough, but there's always racist people in elections. Let's not pretend that that was never the case in the previous election, and those people tend to vote unanimously Republican. So let's be clear. 40% of the people of whites voted for Gillum. Let's say 30% were racist, and I don't even think that's that high of a number. Now, I don't even know if it's racist or just not necessarily. And see, and that's the hard part. Just because somebody runs a dog whistle campaign, it doesn't necessarily mean that the people are racist. The thing that people were fighting for in this case was immigration and economy, and those people went to DeSantis. Now, the dog whistle that was put out, you can make a case that some were more inclined to listen to that dog whistle. That is true. And if you want to call those people racist, fair enough. Some of that is a relative distance from where you are on the spectrum of ideas. But some people might have just been, and I know this sounds weird, just not caring about it. Now, me as an African American care a big fuckload about it. As a white person, that doesn't necessarily affect me, so maybe I don't necessarily care about it. And I say this because I've had conversations with people here where I would make a point about something DeSantis said as a dog whistle, and they would completely miss it. I don't see it. It's like, how can you miss it? They don't see it. They don't see it. So it's not as simple as all Floridians were racist. That's why DeSantis is up this high. No, Gillum had been dogged by FBI complaints. He's been hit with those FBI complaints. Backing away from Medicare for All, I've heard that as another example. I don't know if he pulled away fully from Medicare for All. I saw one of the tweets that the people were talking about. I don't know if that is a full repudiation of Medicare for All. Maybe. It does seem like he's gotten soft on the idea. My thing is, this Medicare for All thing, from the standpoint of a state, that needs to be a federal program. I'm sorry. I understand people want to put this through in states. And if you can make it work, make it work. But the problem is states need to balance their budget. I keep saying this. A state must balance its budget. If there are times where there are cost overruns, the states need to find a way to come away with that cost overrun. The federal government doesn't necessarily have that particular problem. Yes, with $20 trillion of debt, which gets across, the federal government can have budget overruns without it necessarily destroying it. He stressed Medicare expansion. Yes, he did. Semantics are everything in politics. He pulled away full stop. Fair enough. Fair enough. Like I said, I saw the tweet. I don't know if the tweet is a full repudiation. I would have just tweeted pushing for Medicare for All, personally. And I agree with you. Everything is semantics and politics. So fair enough. This sort of rationalizing and fantasizing is how we got Bill Clinton, the mess we're in. It's not rationalizing. I saw the tweet that he put out, and my thought was, it's like, if you're for Medicare for All, say you're for Medicare for All. It's like, come on. He literally backed Cory Booker plan, which goes against Medicare for All. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Then that's a fail. Fair enough. If I am working on insufficient information, fair enough. Fair enough. I still believe that this needs to be a federal program, not a state program. So, but God, would it be sweet justice if they fucking lose. The federal deficit is not a bad thing. It's not necessarily that it's a bad thing. At a certain point, it fails. Like, I understand the MMT thing. It's like, are we okay being $100 trillion in debt? And an MMTer might be like, yes. I would say no. And that's purely dependent on whether the rest of the world agrees with you on this. And if they don't agree with you on this, then the idea of MMT goes away. You need agreement to some of this stuff. Now, fair enough, we're $20 trillion in debt. The military has overruns all the time, so fair enough. Hey, I think Democrats are seriously caught this time. They're on video taking ballots out of precincts and keeping them in the truck. Not your fault. He backed both. Makes it confusing. Yeah, same county for what? Bring the snipes. Same that we're finding ballots. We're finding ballots. So I'm going to end this. Seriously doubt Deborah Wasserman Schultz won the recount. Well, the thing is, they want the governorship. And they also want, Ben Nelson going back to Congress. So maybe they want to recount. But what I say is they're hosted on their own petard. And God, this is sweet justice. If DeSantis and Nelson, if Nelson wins and Gillum wins this. Sweet fucking justice. It even, yes, sweet fucking justice. Sweet justice. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. My wife likes to say even $1 helps. More than $1 helps more. But you guys essentially make this content work. So thanks all. I have one or two more of these before going back to my temporary roving phone booth of a studio. That is my hotel. Thanks all.